Welcome to Where There's a Wills.
There's a play.
I'm Ian, your makeup expert casual gamer.
I'm Stacey. I am your non-gamer gamer.
And welcome back to Wednesday with the Wilzes, your midweek sit down where we talk about what we've been playing, what's caught our attention, and the questions that spark the best conversations around the table.
And this week's we're talking about party games, pastries, I know, setup time debates, and whether digital plays really count towards your gameplay.
So grab a seat.
And let's talk about games.
All right, this week our table's been filled with two very approachable, crowd-friendly games that shine in very different ways. I'm personally going to be talking about one that I played last week at my board game club, which I always have a lot of fun, which comes out, which also goes with our monthly theme, which is 25th century games. And this is Green Team Wins. Stacey, unfortunately, has not been able to play this because it needs more people, and we just have the two of us. But I do play this quite a bit at my board game club with the kids, and it's always fun. I did play with the holiday expansion, which adds just all one more time. We played like 3 games, 2 or 3 games. A lot of fun, easy to teach, quick to play. You're asking different questions in different ways. It really thrives on energy and the group energy and laughs and surprising answers. And when I'm playing with my 4th and 5th graders at school, it is just a blast because I have to think how they would think, not necessarily how I think. And we do a little table talk. We'll be talking a little bit so you can kind of get, which you're not supposed to do, but it's always a lot of fun. The kids love this game. They played it a few more times after I got done playing it with them. Kids always like getting this one out. I really hope to get Stacey a chance to play this at some point. Maybe you'll have to come over to Board Game Club at some time just to play it. That can be kind of fun. But yeah, so this is a lot of fun. It's about reacting to people not optimizing plays. So I really enjoy Green Team Wins. If you're looking for a good party game, I really like this one.
And mine isn't necessarily a party game, but it falls into the pastry section that we'll be talking about. And that is Donut Shop, also by 25th Century Games. Donut Shop is a drooling tile placement game wrapped in a bright, cozy theme. Simple rules that make it easy to get to the table. It's quick for me anyway. This is considered a quick game to the table. It's, take a couple things out of the box, plop them on the table, and you're set up. There's not a whole lot to it. The decisions are pretty straightforward, but yet you're still feeling satisfied at the end of your round with the decisions. Hopefully, you're feeling satisfied with the decisions that you've made, and they can be quite satisfying as well.
There's a little push your luck element to this without being push your luck. For like, how many tiles can you put down before you box them up?
Before someone takes the area you've been working on,
exactly.
And box it like we did last night. It's a family-friendly option when you just want to get a relaxing game to the table, at least in my opinion. The theme works a lot. It's charming, it's inviting, and I don't think this game is intimidating at all. I think this game works for non-gamers and, gamers alike. So that's Donut Shop by 25th Century Game. If you haven't tried it yet, this is my recommendation for today. And this is what I currently have right back here behind everything of what we are currently playing. And we'll get another one in before we box it up.
We do have a playthrough of it on the channel that we did like last summer or something, or last fall. So there is a playthrough of it on the channel.
Is that the one that didn't have any sound?
No.
Or did that one have
sound? That was something else.
Okay.
I was going to say something else about that, and I don't remember what. We actually played this a little bit later than we would normally sit down and play a game, especially for Stacey last night. Last night we wanted to play it, and we kind of got away from us. We didn't start that until like after like 6:30. I mean, which is not late for a lot of people, but for Stacey especially, like she wants to start winding down like 6:30, and we were playing this until
he's 8.
Did the game start before we were done?
Yeah.
So
the game was on for like 10 minutes before we started.
So we didn't start this till like 7:30.
Yeah.
Yeah, so so really fun game. Love that one. All right. So that's what's been on the table. That's been what's on the table this week.
I like Donut Shop.
All right. Next segment for today is our weekly wonder. This is where we kind of sit down and chat about something. So today's weekly wonder is setup time part of the experience or is it a tax?
Hmm.
So before your first turn ever happens, every board game asks something of us: time, attention, and effort just to get started. Stacey just talked about how Donut Shop is pretty quick to set up. This week's Weekly Wonder digs into whether that setup time is a meaningful part of the experience or is it a cost we quietly pay to
Hmm.
play. So we're going
Okay.
to break this down to a couple different segments. First, setup is part of the experience. So
Mm-hmm.
for some games, setup is more than just logistics. It is transition into the game itself. Laying out the board, sorting decks of cards, and placing components can help players mentally step into the game's world.
And I think watching the game come together on the board can be quite satisfying, actually. Especially when the theme or if there's like a heavy table presence with that board game. I think just watching the board come out, watching the got
So
talk with my
she
hands.
does.
Watching everything just come together kind of gets you geared up to play that game. Kind of gets you excited to play that game. So I like that aspect of it.
I mean, going back to Donut Shop, I mean, we are getting
Mm.
the cards out and the very thematic,
Mm-hmm.
how everything is very thematic with the donut, with the display case and
The
the donuts and
dispenser.
the dispensers and the cards being like looking like a napkin dispenser. Very thematic. It kind of gets you involved into the
Mm-hmm.
game.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think one that really comes in for me as far as maybe not totally with us, but at my board game club it is it's a social warm up. It's when I start clarifying rules for kids. And
Mm.
if we had a group of people over, it would be that. Like you could
I
see
can
it
see that.
as it being is when rules are clarified. You're getting stuff out. You're kind of explaining stuff as you're doing it. When I'm playing bigger games with the students at Board Game Club, I do that. I kind of talk about things. I set some expectations for the game. I really kind of like it starts the conversation about what the game is about. As I'm setting stuff up, I am talking about what the game is about. I'm telling you what the different pieces are and stuff. So I do see that as kind of a social thing as you're doing it with. I mean, it's just two of us usually at home, but this is more towards like my board game club. And I can see this being like if you do have a group, like you're talking about the game, you're kind of getting it. You're clarifying things, maybe things you need to remember. So yeah, you might have a little bit of a social warm up for your setup time.
And I think for me, longer setup can often delay the experience that you're about ready to have, or it can oftentimes go deeper and be more involved. And whether or not it's worth the investment of setting it up could be the question as well. For me, longer setup, that's what he's for. I don't normally set up the game because I hate it. I
And we'll get into
Yeah, and
that in
we'll
the
get it
next
all
part.
into. I'll explain all of that
I
later.
would say
Um,
going bouncing off of that for me. I don't mind longer setups because I know that if I do set up a game that takes more time, then Stacy will come over and play, and it's kind of it's kind of my kind of calm time. Like I'm sitting here, like just setting up a game, knowing that hey, we are going to have some quality time together because the game is set up, and it's a game that Stacy enjoys, but maybe there's a lot of stuff going on in it. So I don't mind setting stuff up, and we don't have games that like are super long setups, but we have some that take a little while. There's lots of components. And I know that if I'm setting it up personally, that it means that Stacy and I are probably going to have a good hour of quality time because it's usually those games that take about an hour, which are about your max limit hour 15 minutes, about where your limit is for time. And I do believe that those longer setups do kind of, you know, kind of leads to that sort of thing. Um, and I mean, I think this last point is kind of both of us. We like things that are very organized in our games
mm,
and very easy to get. So getting those things out, games that have great inserts that you're like, okay, I'm getting this out. I'm placing this here. I'm putting this over here. You kind of feel like it's a ritual, almost like, okay, this needs to be here. This needs to be here. Things that have great inserts, so you can just grab stuff out very nice and neatly. Um, I think that is all kind of part of the ritual of setup. So
I can see
I,
that.
I like that.
I
So
can see
let's
that.
get to your point, which I think is a big part of as a non-gamer gamer. I think
Yes.
the other side of things is probably where you fall for the most part.
Um, for me, the longer the setup, the less attention span that I have for that, because I consider setup as part of the game. So my attention span is, like Ian said, about 45 minutes to about an hour and 15 minutes. And with the setup and the playing and then everything else, it just is a time sucker to me if there's too much stuff that's going into it. Especially for a weeknight game, I just want something that pops out of the box and plays. I don't
Yeah.
want to mess with, a 20-minute setup time. Some of these games, people are like, oh, it takes us a minimum of 30 minutes to set.
Or an
What?
hour, like an
What
hour
are
or an
you?
hour, to set up, or hour and a half. No, yeah,
No, 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 not for me. That's
yeah,
all I have to say
yeah.
about
No, I,
that.
I, I, I agree with that. If things are fiddly, it could be, especially on a weeknight, like I said. Um, if setup time takes too long, it could feel like more like work.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're working to get to this enjoyment, but you have to work so much. Now, I don't know if we personally have anything that I'm at that limit to. We have a couple that are like close, that are right there at that limit of like, man, I really am glad this doesn't take any longer to set up because it feels like work setting up the game. And then you kind of look at like, is the enjoyment factor worth that long setup?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that could be a part of things. Is it could it could feel like work more than like, okay, I gotta do all this work before I can have the enjoyment. Like, and I just want to get down to playing the game.
Right.
Which is sometimes with those games we have them set up longer because we
Right.
want to just play them more.
Right. And if it does have a longer setup time and takedown time, we usually do tend to keep those ones on the table a little bit longer because
Mm-hmm.
it was so time consuming to get it out to the table, especially if the things that you're setting up don't have a particularly ex, like perfect spot for them to go, and you
Right.
have to kind of try and figure out, okay, this will be okay right here, or if it doesn't have its spot and it has to take longer because you have to figure out where everything goes. That's I just get impatient. That's all
Yeah.
there is to it. But usually at the end, when you have everything set, after he has everything set up, and we get to
And I don't
playing.
mind setting them up, like I
Yeah,
said.
that's his thing. He's the organ. I mean, I like to organize, but he likes to organize all of his games and everything. So let him set it up and get it perfect. And then I just come in, I play the game, I get gamely satisfied, and it's usually one of those things where I'm like, okay, it was worth him setting it up so that I could enjoy the game,
Mhm.
if that makes sense.
Yeah. I think one of the other things with setup is, do you remember the game?
Right.
Like, if you set up a game that does take a long time and you have to then go back and re-clarify a lot of things in
Mm-hmm.
the rule book and check things, all of a sudden you've set up the game. Well, now instead of being able to play right away, now you're kind of that momentum of, oh, I'm ready to play the game. I gotta set up. Oh, wait, what? I don't, wait, how do I have to do this? Especially if you have a big setup. And we have some games where I do have to double check. Like, okay, where do things go? Which, if it's early in the setup, that's fine. But then if you have to double check rules to clarify rules, sometimes that is part of the setup. And like, okay, I gotta clarify this. And all of a sudden your momentum of getting the game out and wanting to get played, kind of like you're like, oh man, okay.
Yeah.
Now I'm like already like in the game, but I'm also very worn out because I've had to recheck a lot of stuff. So frequent rule book checks could kind of diminish
Kind
your
of a
your
downer.
joy of like wanting to get into the game if it does have a long setup.
Yeah, yeah, but it is extremely satisfying when all you have to do is open the box, get the insert, put it on the table, get the next insert, put it on the table. Oh,
Oh yes,
that's the
yes,
best.
yes.
There's so many components, but they're all like together.
No.
Love it.
So I guess the real debate here
Ooh,
isn't
there's a
whether
real debate.
isn't whether setup is good or bad. It's when it feels worth it. Okay. So, like, when does the setup feel worth it? I think we've kind of touched on that a little bit. Um, but there's some, things to kind of think about, is a good storage design, we've got to talk about this, and small inserts part of good game design?
Yes.
I personally think yes. I mean, we've got some games that have amazing inserts that make setup really quick with lots of components. Like, oh, boom, that goes there, that goes there, that goes there. You're good. Here's your tray. Here's your tray. So I think that's a big one.
I agree. I love me a good insert. As a non-gamer, I feel they're extremely satisfying when all you have to do is take that little lid off, put it on the table, and you're good to go. Um, I totally lost my train of thought. I
That's
had
okay. That's
something
okay.
to
We're
say.
filming this after a day of work, so.
Get up early, and then I drive long ways to work. We had some excitement today at work, but um, not at work, but around work.
Yeah.
So that kept me occupied today. So then, do apps and digital setup, do they help or reduce the friction of the game?
Mm.
That's my
Yeah.
question.
Yeah. How do apps help?
So,
The
does that help you in the long run? Because I'm not a big digital app player,
right.
gamer person. But if you play it on an app or on a digital background, when you have the game, does that help you set up?
I can also see this not just apps, because there's a great app that's called Dized, and a lot of games are on there which allow
How do you spell that?
Dized. It's an app, and it goes through the setup, it goes through um like some gameplay too, so it helps you get into the gameplay as well. Like, is that? But I can also see this not just apps and digital, but like a how to play video, or
Mm,
which talks through the setup of the video. Like, does that help you because you're seeing it as well? Like, does that sort of um visualization, not just reading it in the rule book, be like, wait, what is that? Especially if the rule book isn't very clear.
mm.
Like, seeing somebody else do it, does that help you?
That helps me.
Yeah.
So when I first open up a box and it looks like it's overwhelming, because I get overwhelmed very easily with gameplay. But if I can watch somebody else open the box and say, okay, this is where the board game goes, this is where all of this stuff goes around it, then I'm not as overwhelmed when I'm ready to play the game. That helps me watching somebody else do it. But I don't, like I said, I don't play on, I'm not an apps gamer person. So that's my question.
I think one more big thing here in the debate part of it is the setup more acceptable when it reinforces the theme? Going back to Donut
Mm-hmm.
Shop, the setup on this, it's a quick setup, first of all, so it's not, but it is a good example of this, because the setup on this, you have your boxes, you have your napkins, you have
Mm-hmm.
your donut display, you have your donuts, so it fits the theme. If the setup really fits the theme of the game, is that more acceptable for a longer one?
Yeah, I would think so. That's just my own personal opinion. But
Okay.
yeah, I'm that's right back here in the back of my mind. It's slowly creeping its way to the forefront. And then how much does player count and having your group familiar with the game and with the change of the game and the setup, does how does that feel? How does that
Mm.
make it feel as well? So if you have more people doing it and if, that are familiar with the game, or one person that's more familiar with the game, does that help with everybody else to understand the setup as well,
Yeah.
or how to do it?
Yeah, so it's like, if a lot of people know the setup and you can do it quick, or
Mm-hmm.
is it a bunch of new people setting up the game, or are you the only one that knows the game and you're trying to get people to set up? Yeah. So I guess
Lots of thinking going on.
setup really shapes our shelves more than we realize. It influences what gets played,
Mm-hmm.
because games that take a lot of setup might go back. Like, I really want to play that, but man, the setup for that, they might get passed over. Which games become those special occasion games? experience instead of a regular favorite, because they do. It's like, yeah, I love this game, but man, it's gonna take me an hour to set it up, and is that gonna be, am I gonna play it right away? Is it gonna just be like, okay, people are coming over, I'm gonna get set up the night before so we can play, sort of thing. So so it really kind of decides like what games might stay on our shelf, and as we are looking at our shelves this year, it might be like, you know what, I like this game, but man, it takes a long time to set up. Are we really gonna get it out that much? So
And do you
yeah,
leave it up longer?
and leave it up longer. Do we really want it on the table for a week so we can play it, so we can feel like the setup was worth it? Okay.
I agree. I absolutely agree. So then the biggest question
Mm-hmm.
that I have, if a game is great but rarely played because of the setup, is that a design problem or is it an expectation mismatch?
Oh, that's an interesting.
So if you know what I'm saying,
Right.
um, if a game is really great but you don't play it because it is so difficult to, it's not, I call them weeknight games because it's not a weeknight game. Is that the designer flaw? I don't know. I don't know. I think it's I don't
It
know.
depends on the. It depends. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it
These are all
depends.
great things to think about, Rika. So I think what we really want to know is, when does setup feel like an investment, and when does it feel like a tax?
Hmm.
And that is one of the things you can answer down in the comments. And we'll share some comments next week. All right. Moving on to our next segment. What's worth watching?
No, I don't know anything about this one.
No. So no, these are things I am very much more like in tuned in, like what's going on. I keep track of things. So I have some big things here. The first one, so I was coming in today with two very quick things, but man, before I left school today, something came across my radar that just kind of shocking to me. Not games that I play, much more heavier than I play, and not really a company that I don't think we have anything from because of that. But we'll just go right to, oopsie, wrong thing.
Oops.
Okay, we'll go right to this. Um, Leader Games has scrapped their impending Take Kickstarter after the game's designer abruptly leaves the studio. And this leads, and I will link this article as well as this letter. Cole Wehrle, the designer of Root and Arcs, has left Leader Games and is going to be starting up his own publishing company. This is huge news. Um, both those games are much heavier than what I play, but this is gigantic news that they are leaving Leader Games. Now, they are getting the rights to a couple of games. I think Root is staying with Leader Games, but I believe Arcs and some other stuff is going with Cole, and some other people that are leaving Leader Games. So this is huge news. I will link both of these articles. Like I said, this is something that came on my radar very, very late. Was not actually going to talk about this, but giant news in the board game industry with both Cole Wehrle and who else? Let's see, Cole Wehrle and I can't think of the other name. I can't find the other name.
I can't see that far.
Yeah. So, and his brother Drew and then Ted Kaya, who have been long-standing collaborators, are starting a new company called Burnt Giant Studios. I will link both of these articles. One is an article from Leader Games. It's a letter from Cole, and one is an article on Board Game Wire. So I will link those articles in the show notes so you can read them. And then the next piece of news, real quick, is we have official name for the Viticulture expansion. This is the Viticulture Bordeaux expansion. This is a new 4-season board for Viticulture that has some changes to the wake up row, some other new changes. Jamie Stegmeyer posted a video today talking about them. I will link that in the show notes as well. I will also link this from Stillmeyer Games in the show notes. Yeah, so very excited about this. Viticulture is one of my first Stonemaier games. It is still one of my favorite Stonemaier games. I love playing it solo. Stacy's played it a couple times with me. I'm very excited about this new board. There's some new face up vine cards and wine order cards. There's also kind of like what they did with the expeditions expansion. You get some stuff to start the game, and then there's some new stuff at the end of each round. So very excited about this one. So I will link all the information on that. And then the last one um, was something that came across my radar, and
So cute.
all you have to do is look at the names: Manny Vega, Sandara Tang. I mean, that duo just screams hit. Elementary. This is a game coming to us from Little Lantern Games. It is coming to Kickstarter this spring. It plays 1 to 5 players, 30 minutes, ages 10 and up. Um, it is a mystical grade school where social currency is snacks. Roll dice to see what is in your lunchbox. Bluff and bribe to score the best friends and build the ultimate lunch table. I mean, let's go back to this artwork first of all. I mean, and like I said, Manny Vega, Sandara Tang, sign me up. They have been huge hits for me personally, for us, um, in the last couple of years. I'm an elementary school teacher. I love this mythical world. I mean, I've always been kind of like that. So, elementary school, mythical elementary school, Manny Vegas and Tang. I mean, sign me up. I'm very excited about that one. It kind of randomly came across my Instagram last week, and I was like, oh, I am talking about this on our Wednesday with the Wilzes. All right, so those are the 4 things that were kind of caught my eye, and yeah, for what's worth watching for. All right.
And next we will go to our next segment, which is Word from the Table. We are going to take a glance at last week's question, and I don't remember.
We had a couple things.
What our question was.
Our weekly wonder was about cozy games.
Yes.
And then our actual question is what got to the table over the holidays, which we didn't have responses at, but we did have a couple responses to what makes a game cozy for you. At Kate Rittman 5731 said, last night I discovered that Wingspan is my cozy game. It's like an old familiar friend that you can catch up with even if a year and a half has passed. I agree. Those games that you haven't played for a while, and you're just like, oh yeah, this is very familiar. I remember why I like that. That does make something cozy.
Absolutely. I do agree with that. I love getting a game out after some time has passed, and it's one of those games where a cozy game for me is you remember the rules. You don't have to keep flipping back and forth to the rules. It just feels like an old friend has come to visit where you just sit down and talk like no time has passed. That's what a cozy game is for me after time.
I like that one. And at Dads and Dice, commented as well. You can follow them on YouTube. I will link their YouTube. Said cozy to me falls into a couple things. First is theme, then low stress, and generally not competitive. I generally will only play cozy games solo. I believe this is probably Paul from Dads and Dice who commented on this. But yeah, I like that. The low stress, the theme definitely makes things cozy, and not being competitive. Now, with us personally, we don't do the we even if the games are very competitive, we don't. I don't think we have something that's super competitive. I don't think we can. We tend to go towards those non-competitive. So we play a lot of cozy stuff together, but I also play cozy stuff solo.
I'm not allowed to play competitive.
So this leads us to this week's kind of questions. Do digital plays count as plays? If you think they do you count them in your rankings if you rank games? So if you're on social media and you rank your games, and are digital only experiences valid for evaluation? So if you've played something only digitally, is that valid for evaluation if you haven't played it on tabletop? Or do you have to play it on the tabletop as well when you and then take into consideration your experiences differently on like on digital. So like this is a question that kind of came to me this week as we are preparing for our top 10 games of 2025, because there is a game that came out in 2025 that I've only played on Board Game Arena. I will probably only ever play it on Board Game Arena, and it's a game that I absolutely love playing on Board Game Arena. I constantly have a game of it going.
What game is that?
That is called Zenith. It is a kind of a push and pull game, sort of like Hanami-Koji, where you're kind of pulling stuff one way or the other. But there's a lot more to it.
Huh.
So it is one that I've played on there. I absolutely love it. So it was like, do I consider this game? In the past, I have not necessarily considered Board Game Arena only games. When we did our re-rank of 2024, I was like, I've played a couple of games now from 2024 enough where I feel like I played, and I don't think it's gonna be one that I play on the table unless I go to a convention at some point. So I did kind of put those in, but it was like, what? It was kind of like, how do you consider those if you haven't, how do you consider
You like
the
the
things?
game?
I do.
You like playing the game
I
with
do.
others?
I do. I have constantly have 2 or 3 games of it going with different people.
So then why wouldn't you count it? If it's a game and you like to play it, it's digital.
That's the question. That's the question. Some people say digital. Some people are very staunch. Digital plays do not count. Others don't mind it.
I
Yeah.
personally don't play digital games except for one. I have one game that I played for like 5 years, and I'm on the same game where I've been.
It's not a board game though. It's an actual
No,
digital. It's not which is different. That is an out. This
But
is
yeah.
I'm talking like digital versions of
Yeah, but that
like do you count them? I know some people who don't like
Huh.
don't when they even on BGSS they don't put in digital plays. I put them in, and I put them in as the location being wherever it is. So yeah, just something to think about. Do digital plays count to you? Do you think they should count? That is a very personal preference.
So then how would that affect people's rankings, do you think? Do you rank them as your digital
You-
plays
you-
of the year, or do you,
you rank-
intertwine those with your board
Well,
games?
that's kind of the question. It's like, how do you rank? Do the people who don't put them in, they don't consider them at all, probably towards what their favorite games are. You know, I also think that a lot of people who do content probably do count them both, and those are the ones that are really ranking games. But who knows? All right, so there is our question of the week. Do digital plays count as plays? And then kind of some sub things there. What's brewing for this upcoming week? We actually got quite a bit coming up as we end our,
Finally getting to
2025.
the end of the year.
Yeah, we're getting to the end of our 2025 lists. So we've got a couple of them coming up. This Friday, we are going to have our top 10 games of 2025. And you'll see if my BGA only game makes my top 10.
Have you done your ranking yet?
I've done my initial ranking. I'm going to take my top 15, look at them, probably, massage them, figure them out, maybe re-rank it. Because as I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking, no, some of these games do deserve to be higher. But I'm going to take like my top 15, look at them, and really like, is this where they need to be? Because I'm looking at it like where are the experiences with it and stuff. So,
Okay.
I am going to do a 2025 year in review for my board game arena like I did last year. I'll talk about my the top 10 people I played games with, the top 10 games I played, and then my top 10 favorite games to play on board game arena. Give me a lot of 2-player games on that one. Just a little spoiler.
I think I played one game at Board Game Arena.
Last year, maybe.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Spots.
That was a while ago.
It was my most played game.
That was a way long time ago.
Was it?
We weren't sure what we were doing until we got a copy at the Board Game Club. And then I am before next Wednesday, I'm going to do my top 10 most anticipated games of 2025 look back. So there's going to be 3 big videos, top 10 videos coming out in the next week. And I think we decided we are going to do a review of Donut Shop, because we realized the other day when we got it out that we did a playthrough of Donut Shop, but we've not actually done a full review of Donut Shop. So we are going to have a review of Donut Shop in the next week. So yeah, we got a fun week ahead of us. We hope you enjoyed this. But yeah, that's going to do it for this week's episode of Wednesday with the Wilzes.
Thanks so much for hanging out with us and spending a little time with us around our table.
We'd love to hear from you, especially on this week's Weekly Wonder and the word from the table. So, setup time and digital games.
So drop your thoughts in the comments if you enjoyed this conversation.
Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with your game group.
And we'll be back next Wednesday with more games and more discussion.
And more time around the table.
We'll see you
next week.